What's up, guys? I was thinking about a video I was wanting to do today, and while I was thinking, I was laying in bed for a little while. I got up this morning and was a little bit tired, and checked on your guys' comments and stuff like that, and then I laid back down for a little while thinking about what I wanted to do the video on and what I was going to say. And in the middle of thinking about that, I came across the thought that yesterday was my son's birthday, and I had forgotten about it. And I left for the U.S. in 2009, and I went back to go to college, and my new wife divorced me, but I had visitation rights with my sons, but because of my wife, my ex-wife at the time, I was only able to see them for about an hour and a half or 2 hours at most, with her supervision once a month on a Sunday, at the end of the last Sunday of every month. This was how it was set up. So the last time I seen my sons was in February of 2009. Now I've been back in Japan for 6 months on Thursday. It's been 6 months, and I'm leaving to go to Korea. I have to leave for a couple of days and then come back. And I realized that yesterday, July 11th, 2015, was my son's 16th birthday. And time flies, man. Time goes by quick. But when I left, he was about 9. He was about 9.5. I left in February, and he has his birthday July 11th. So, and my other son, he's 13, and he's going to be 14 in November 10th. So, you know, it made me think. You know, it's, you know, I haven't been able to see my kids, and even since coming back, I went over and gave my ex-wife a letter and told her I was back and that I had my own house and I was living here and that I wasn't married to my ex-wife anymore. And I didn't tell her I wanted to see the kids or anything, but I gave her my phone number and I gave her my email address, and told her she could write me if she wanted to, and you know, everything. Haven't heard from her. That was about 3.5 months ago. So, you know, even her knowing that I had my son had a birthday coming up, and that maybe my son might want to see me for his birthday, you know, she doesn't care, you know, it's not her thing, you know. But I just I thought I'd do a quick video on that, you know, about some regret. And then I wanted to get into something a little bit more I don't know, along the lines of a line of thought that I've been thinking about for a while. I think in the future, a lot of herbivore guys, especially in Japan, are going to start wanting to date with transgender women. One of the reasons why is because I believe transgender women are going to be, first of all, they act more like a woman from the 1940s or 50s, where they're more into overly emphasizing the female way of being, you know, basically. They want to cook, they want to clean, they want to keep a man happy. They can't trap you with getting pregnant, you know. All they want is somebody to care about them. They're not interested in changing you or trying to do something to you like that. So, and because they were at one time considered to be a man, they understand the mind and the mentality of a man, unlike a woman never could, you know. So I think these things will allow a transgender woman to be much easier for a MGTOW guy to be interested in. And so many MGTOW men will be like, no, I'm not gay, and I'm not going to be with a transgender woman. Well, here's the thing I would have to say about that. If you go into any city in the United States, or any country for that matter, there's prostitution, and there's female prostitutes that sleep with guys. There's gay prostitutes that sleep with guys. Now, along with that, you have transvestite and transgender prostitutes in every country. Now, people like Janet Mock was a prostitute, and these people actually are able to pay for their transition, and anybody that knows anything about transitioning would tell you that it's $50,000-$60,000, if not more, to do a complete transition, with pills and medicine and everything that goes with it. So these people are making very good money, and they get a lot of people sleeping with them. But there's this stigma that transgender people know about, that it's that transgender people are sexual objects. They're not really people. You can't fall in love with one. You couldn't marry a transgender person because you're looked down upon. And when they talk about transgender problems in the media, typically they're going to be talking about the person, like the rapper or whatever, I forget what his name is, Tyra or whatever his name is, that was with one of the Kardashians, recently was found to be having a relationship with a transgender woman for the last 3 years. And it was all about him, and they were shaming him because he was with a transgender woman, which shows this stigma that we have, that you can't actually be attracted to a transgender woman unless you're some deviant, And I think in the future that'll calm down as more rights are given to transgenders and more things are happening. I think that'll change. And I think when it changes, you'll see that all these men that are sleeping with transgender prostitutes are going to start wanting to marry them and be with them. And as one of my subscribers pointed out, the thing that's going to happen, I think, is if in Japan these laws do come out where you're supposed to be with a if you're married and you have kids, or married at all, then you have special privileges basically due to you, given to you through laws. And that if you're unmarried and you're MGTOW or herbivore, that will raise your tax rates so that you have more of an incentive to get married. I think more men will choose to marry a MGTOW, will choose to marry a transvestite or transsexual, because they'll get the beauty. A lot of transsexuals are quite beautiful. Look at Gigi Gorgeous, Janet Mock, people like that. Very, very good looking women. And they will also want to not be burdened with having to worry about children, about having children with the person they're with and being locked into that. Basically that's how a lot of women do. If they feel the husband is too ambitious, he's got too many things he wants to do with his life, and those are affecting a woman's ability to do what she wants to do in her life, or what she wants to lord over you and do, she'll go ahead and get pregnant and say it's an accident, and then you become the caretaker for her kids, and now your life is gone. You know, your sole purpose in life after that is to take care of her kids and provide her with a place to live and money. You know, and this is you know, the common dynamic of a marriage and wives. You know, so I think in the future that's going to be the thing that a lot of people will be attracted to transgender, when they start to realize that transgender women are just women. You know, they're not gay. That's the problem that a lot of men don't seem to realize is if you're transgender and your sexuality are two separate things. They're not together. Just because you're transgender doesn't mean you're into men. Just because you're transgender doesn't mean you're into women. You know, sometimes they're bisexual, sometimes they're gay, sometimes they're lesbian. You know, there's so many different fluid things, and this binary gender identity that people have needs to die off. You know, this whole I'm a man, you're a woman, you know, thing. There's so many gender fluid people that are coming around, and people are starting to wake up to the fact through a psychological even. You know, if you look at people's minds and their brains, it's not true. There is no such thing as man and woman. You know, your identity as a gender is in your mind, and it's very easily shown that most transgenders, if you're transgender, it's actually in your brain. It shows up as female, you know. So it's not like a man wanting to be gay. You know, a man wanting to be gay, there's actually a literal thing in your brain that they can see that you're gay, you know. And if you're transgender, they can actually look at your brain and they see that your brain functions the way a woman's brain functions, you know. So, you know, these things will, once these things are more available and people start to realize this and start to realize that it's not a big deal to be attracted to a transgender woman, and it's not a big deal to, it doesn't mean you're gay, and it's not a stigma, and this binary, you know, gender thing falls to the wayside. I think more people will start to realize that it's not a big deal, and I think that's going to be the death of the women's pussy holding over men. Is I think that's one reason why so many women are so upset about transgender women, because it actually affects their hold over a man. Like what they think their power is that pussy. And when they start to realize that transgender women that actually still have a dick are taking their man, that becomes a problem to them, because now you're actually calling into their I don't know what you want to say, like their power. You know, you're basically taking their power away. You're saying that the pussy isn't so important, and they want you to think it is. You know, they want you to think that that's powerful. So I think it's really gonna the more that it happens, and you got to think I mean, everybody has been with, there's so many like stars, big time stars that people know have been with transgender women, you know, including you know, one of the ones that I just found out about today that I heard about was Eddie Murphy. You know, Eddie Murphy had been with a transgender woman. So I mean, there's lots of stars though that have done it. And when it starts to be not a stigma, where being with a transgender woman is just being with a woman, and it stops being transgender and you're just a woman, I think that will become a thing that's not such a big deal. And when that happens, I think that's going to be the death of of women's power. And when that happens, feminism is going to die too. And that's why I hope more people start to realize that being with a transgender woman isn't going to be that big of a deal, you know, and that if you want to get away from the whole gender narrative of I have to get married and then my wife wants me to have kids and pay for all this stuff, if you want to get away from that, you should be with a transgender woman. And when that starts to happen, like I say, there's not going to be feminism, because there still will be feminism, because there's these, I don't even know what you would call them, there's these transgender women who are still trying to be part of feminism, you know, who are saying, like, I'm transgender and I'm a feminist and all this stuff. Those people are going to be the same way that every other woman is going to be, you know, because you can't be, I believe, if you're a woman in this day and age and you can't see all of the things that you have that are more along the lines of better options for your life than a man has. If you can't see the amount of privilege you have over a man and have had for 30 years or more, if you can't see that, then you're not looking hard enough. And the thing is MGTOW guys, men's right guys, can see it, and that's the reason why they don't want anything to do with you. And the fact that you're still pushing for more rights and wanting to take away more rights of men is showing that you have a complete lack of understanding of what's really going on, you know. And that's why I would say that what's going to happen is more men are going to start being attracted to transgender women, you know, especially transgender women who have already went through the transition and have already had a sex change, you know, because it's easier to wander around with one of these women who look like a woman, like somebody like Gigi Gorgeous, you know, somebody like that. She's freaking hot, you know, and people like Princess Jules, you know, people like that, you know. These girls who are just so gorgeous, and that's the other thing, is a lot of these transgender women are more beautiful than the girl that's sitting next to you calling you her boyfriend, you know. And that pisses them off when they see somebody like that on TV and their boyfriend looks at him and goes like, damn, she's hot. That pisses off the woman, because the woman, a lot of women can't think of it like that's a woman. They think that's a guy dressed up like a woman, and my boyfriend just said she's hotter than I am. And that's how they always look at everything, is like, you know, he said she's hot, and that means she's hotter than I am, you know. And that becomes a fight, you know, that becomes a problem for them. And I think that's a good thing. I think that needs to happen. They need to be made aware that their pussy doesn't hold so much of a power anymore, and that they're losing their power, because that's really all they have to offer. Like I've said in many other videos, there's not really much a woman can offer a man besides kids and sex. And if that's all you have to offer a man, and the rest of the shit that you have to offer him is just nagging and bitching and stealing his money and making him work the rest of his life to pay for those kids that you've had, then most men would say it's not worth it, you know. No man wants to have to deal with that. I'm you know, I wouldn't want to have to deal with it either, you know. Now, I have 4 kids. I've been married 4 times, and I know what I'm talking about, because none of my kids I have anything to do with, you know, partly because of my wives, you know. But yeah, I have a son that's 22 years old now, and he just turned 22 years old this month as well, and he lives in America. And then I have 2 sons here in Japan, and one I have is a daughter. That went back in the 80s. I was in a band, and I had some girl that I met backstage, and that daughter's like 25, 26. I was 15 at the time. So yeah, there's you know, and I've never met her. So I have 4 kids, and I haven't seen my son since 2012 in America, and the other 2 I haven't seen since 2009 in February, you know, and you know, this is basically what's happening, you know, and I'm lucky that I don't have to pay child support for those kids, you know. And my youngest son is 13, going to be 14, so in 4 more years the whole child support thing will be over as well. You know, if I had to pay child support, which I live here in Japan, and my wife could come at me for child support if she wanted to, but she's a sub-head nurse at a hospital, maybe a head nurse by now, and she's probably making a hell of a lot more money than I make. At the time when I was with her, she was making about $50,000 a year. She's probably making about 70 or 80 now. So, you know, she makes a lot more money than I do. So, yeah. You know, so that's what I thought I'd talk about today. I had a few questions about that. I thought I'd delve into that. I won't talk too much about transgender issues on this website unless somebody asks for it. So this video will be posted on this website and the other one, because I talked about transgender issues as well. So anytime I do that, I'll post them on the other site as well, and go into deeper detail on the other site. So yeah, I just thought I'd talk about that. You know, if you guys have any questions, any comments, criticisms, leave them in the comment section below. Share, like, and subscribe, and have a good day.